Before we get started, I thought I would just go on record saying, what? Seriously, guys, I am absolutely shocked at how well my first big effort video on this channel is doing, and I seriously love each and every one of you who took the time out of your day to write a comment that brings just such a huge smile to my face every time I read them. Thank you guys so much, and I just can't express how much you guys have inspired me and how happy you guys have made me, so thank you. Thank you so much. So here's a totally wild and never said before statement. My Hero Academia's visuals are great. I know, I'm very original. Jokes aside, it was obvious that the creators of this show wanted Studio Bones animating it because they have, well, a pretty impressive track record when it comes to visuals, and Hero Aca is no exception. Both the still frames and actual animation look very smooth, and although it has dipped just a bit in quality from seasons 2 to 3, it still is miles ahead of some of its other competitors. But one facet of the show's visuals which I believe to be very important and frankly kind of underappreciated is the character designs. And surprise surprise, Hero Aca has some pretty great ones. This video wouldn't exist if that wasn't the case. The rule of thumb for most character designs is that you should be able to tell what character you're looking at immediately from their silhouette alone. To prove my point and have some fun doing it, let's play a little game. I'm going to show you the silhouette of some characters from Hero Aca, and you tell me what characters they are. For each character you get right, you get 5 points. The points are meaningless, just go with it. Post in the comments how you do. Odds are you got most, if not all of them correct. But why is that? Why does a character design like Uraraka's stick in your head while one like Kirito's does no such thing? To help figure this out, let's look at the mascot of the franchise, All Might, specifically his muscle form, aka Tall Might. One look at him and you know that he is a powerful force who fights for justice and peace. The bulging muscles, spandex outfit, cape, and color palette in this design are all very reminiscent of Superman, who shares all of these previously mentioned traits, along with having literally no limit to his power. This is also extremely fitting for All Might, as well as his quirk One for All, which stockpiles power from each user and passes that power on to the next receiver of the quirk, meaning that theoretically it also has no power cap. And although All Might himself may have a limit to that power, it was so high that before his retirement, he was the undisputed #1 hero. Another great design and a perfect demonstration of my next point is that of Katsukui Bakugo's. His hair, eyes, and accessories all come to sharp points. This immediately makes him give off a very dangerous aura, which, what do you know, fits his personality perfectly. He's brash and aggressive and doesn't even have that many friends, as whenever somebody tries to get close to him, he explodes, sometimes literally. The only actual friend he has up to this point is Kirishima, and oddly enough, his quirk, Hardening, allows him to endure very strong physical attacks, like an explosion. What do you know? Seems like they put a lot of thought into this. But getting back to Bakugo's actual design, it's clearly a demonstration of the basic shapes theory, which states that any feeling or emotion can be broadly represented through the use of either circles, squares, or triangles. Circles are used to invoke non-threat and generally kinder and more sympathetic emotions. Squares are used to communicate strength and power, and triangles represent danger and hostility. One look at Bakugo's design and you can tell that it's mostly composed of triangles, or at least sharp points, and that's why triangles are seen as more dangerous shapes, because of their sharp points. This is most noticeable when you notice that Bakugo's eyes are much slimmer and pointier than the other characters in the show. If you saw my video on what Toru Hagakure would look like if she was visible, you may recall a segment where I talked about how each character in Hero Aca has eyes that match their personality, and that segment was partially the inspiration for this video. At the time, I didn't find that I needed to expand upon my point anymore, but I find it's more fitting to do so in this video. Keeping in mind the basic shapes theory, we can go through each character in the show and see how their eyes fit that broad description of their personality, and even their quirk. The rounder eyes are reserved for characters that are nicer and more sympathetic, or just less hostile. Boxier eyes are given to characters that are usually more powerful or defensive, and sharper, more triangle-shaped eyes are for characters that are very dangerous or threatening. But still, the shape of a character is just one part of what we see on screen. Arguably just as important is color. Like basic shapes theory, there is a color theory which describes the emotions represented by each color on the color wheel. Broadly speaking, red and orange are the colors of fire and thus represent danger, but also energy and life. Yellow represents peace and serenity along with pink. Green is natural and peaceful. Blue is protective and trustworthy. Purple represents royalty and civility. Black represents power and impurity. And finally, white represents purity. Once again, every single character has a color palette that generally follows these guidelines. The only real case of the color being totally unfitting is in Mineta's design, but given his personality and his mostly comedic place in the story, the choice to make his defining color purple was definitely done on purpose. You know, ironically. The best demonstration of all of these elements being put together, if you ask me, is in the design of Tenya Ida. Ida's design and outfit are very boxy and broad, which perfectly depicts his stern, protective personality, along with his position as class rep. His eyes and hair are both blue, which keeps up this aura even when he isn't wearing his suit, and when he is engulfed in the color white, the color of purity, which is exactly the kind of hero he strives to be, a pure one. But despite this, we can see pieces of black underneath this white shell, which is a very smart way to symbolize the grief that he feels for his brother and the hatred that he feels towards villains, which he tries to put behind him but ultimately just becomes defining elements of his character. What ultimately makes a character stand out, though, is the story and connection that the audience feels towards them. The designs are just another way to help that audience familiarize themselves with the character and make them stick in your head that much more. So with all of my praising about the show, you should know that it's pretty freaking great. And you don't just have to take my word for it either. Each of Hero Aca's seasons was rated higher than the last on my anime list, and the third season is currently ranked at 26th best anime in history, which is 4 placements higher than Cowboy freaking Bebop, so that should tell you something. I hope that in this video I managed to change some of your perspectives and entertain you for however long this video ends up being. So with that said, you guys know the drill. If you enjoyed this video or you just want to support the channel, then you can like and subscribe, and if you haven't posted your score on that silhouette game, do so in the comments right now. And if you hated this video in every way, shape, and form, then you probably didn't make it this far, and you won't want to see anything else on my channel. But if you did stick around, then you might want to watch some of my other videos, which are on screen now. And with that said, I hope you have a fantastic day, and I will see you next time. Peace!